So my product is of the week, and it goes with implants. And where it's going to start with is what I use for impressions for implant restorations. And I just did it today, a full arch upper hybrid implant impression, Impregum Soft. Now, we're not talking about the old school Impregum that everybody hated to mix in dental school, the polyether impression that tastes so bad. Things are different now. We have Impregum Soft. And so my product of the week is Impregum Soft. And I just want to reference Reality a little bit on this product. Reality has picked this product to be the choice product for full arch restorations. It is a very forgivable product. We know that polyether impression material, and in my hands, is very forgivable. Now, I started out 12 years ago using Aquasil and any PVS material, tried them all. I mean, there's all kinds of them out there, and I still use some PVS for certain applications, but for crown and bridge implant impressions, I'm using Impregum. And for 10 years, I used Impregum, and now I use digital scanning and that things too, but sticking with the Impregum, the thing that I think there's some, pros and cons that have been in the past. One of the pro was this stuff is really, really hard to get out of the mouth. It's stiff. Well, Impregum Soft fixes that problem. There used to be only one viscosity with Impregum. Now we have 3 viscosities, and we have 2 speeds of set time. So you can still get that long-term set, or you can get that short-term set. So for, say the Impregum that I use is the 3 to 3.5 minute set time. I usually go 4 minutes, and by the time you get every in there, the blending is so good. I don't have tears. I don't have pulls. It's very, very water-loving. About the taste, everybody says, well, this is going to taste so bad. Not one time do I have patients sit up and say the very first thing out of their mouth is not, this tastes terrible. Now, it used to be that was the case. I don't see that anymore. So if you want to take really, and ask a dental lab what their favorite impression material is, just about every time they're going to say Impregum. It is a very stable material. Now, I will say that for quadrant impressions, if you're doing triple tray, which I'm not, for single units and 2 units, you might want to stick with a PVS. It's a little faster. It's going to sit up a little more firm, but for full arch restorations and implant restorations, I'm going to be using Impregum, and that's my product of the week, John. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, so I think it's a great product. It's tried and true, and now the big change with that came when you went from original Impregum to Impregum Soft, right? Now that's been around for a while, right? I mean, that's not new.
Right. Impregum Soft has been around for quite some time.
Like maybe 7 or 8 years, maybe longer?
Oh, longer than that.
Years?
Longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how long it's been around. That's a great question. I know that I've been using it for about 10 years now. I switched over as soon as I got out of
and I agree. I totally
residency.
agree with you on the the difference in how you use it. It's definitely the most hydrophilic material. It's funny because you get a lot of these PVS impression makers that are always saying, "Oh, well, our material is hydrophilic," and it well, no, it's just not true. Those materials are better. There's less surface tension now. There's all these things we're trying to do to create more flow, all those things. But I don't think there's any question that Impregum has the chemistry that is going to be probably the most forgiving, the most kind in the sulcus at getting those tough impressions. And we know if it's going to get the tough impressions, it's going to get the straightforward ones. Now, in those triple tray applications, like you say, I think, especially if using a sideless tray, you got right to it, man. You gotta use something that's stiffer because it used to be the material that people would think would be the stiffest, with the old Impregum, because it was right. It was hard to get it out. I mean, you could lock an impression in. That's always what you hear from people that don't use it very much. But you're finding, again, just as easy to remove from the mouth as what any PVS is.
I always block out under large unit bridges. However, today, I had a bridge from 22 to 27 that I didn't block out. And here I am flowing that underneath there, and I'm thinking, man, probably should have blocked this out. It's only splinted by 22 and 27. Yep. That was a little...
But it worked out.
It worked out just fine.
Yeah, so that's made by who? 3M, right?
3M makes that product, and I use a Penamix machine with that. It really just takes the pressure off my girls there to mix that, and then I use a Garant gun, with the light body on there. And again, they've got, the hardness, they've got medium, viscosity, they've got heavy viscosity, they've got regular and quick set times. Yep. And so I think I was just looking on here, their regular set is a 6-minute time and their quick step is a 4-minute time. Extra oral working time, regular set, get this, 2.5 minutes. One thing about PVS, and I'll finish with this, is that you don't have that snap set. And so you really do have a lot of time to get this around the preps. That's one of the reasons why Reality work, and I recommend it for full arch restorations, is that when you're doing a full arch impression and you're going around each sulcus or each implant post and you're mixing and you're doing your wiggle and stir and you're keeping that in the material, when you go to insert that medium or heavy body impression material that your girls, spent 30 seconds filling that tray up out of the pen and mix machine, that it's going to blend so well because of that snap set at a minute or minute and a half. You have so much working time. It's so forgiving in that respect. So my product of the week, Impregum, made by 3M Espy. And if you have any questions, hey, listen, put it in the comments below. Or if you have any comments if you've used Impregum in the past and not had success with it, leave those behind too, because I want to hear positive and negatives for these products.
Yeah, we want to hear it.
Love it, hate it.
Absolutely.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know.
Right on. So,
John,
tip of the week from me. So, one of the biggest, again, keeping on the topic of implants, one of the hardest things that I've found when you go way back to when you first, if you have learned how to take an open tray implant impression, and we use open tray all the time, and it's kind of your nemesis when you first do it. It's scary because most of us learn on a closed tray system where it's pretty much like doing regular crown and bridge. So you know how to take a crown impression. It's just like that. But with open tray, oh man, now we gotta make a hole in the tray. We gotta unscrew the screw through that hole. How are we going to do that? And it's stressful because that even with Impregum, for instance, it's got a long working time. You still have to find that screw and you have to get to it to get it the heck out of there, because the biggest fear of anyone is number one, to lock an impression in, but number two is to spend all that time getting, say 4 implants and you can't find the screws and you're struggling, and then the impression material is going everywhere. So, lots of tricks out there that I've found to make that easier. And I stumbled across this tip about maybe 2-3 years ago at a CE course. What I do is I take the compule tips from just a composite compule, and I've tried this with different composites. So you need to check your composite to make sure that the tip is the right diameter. Some composites have a really wide tip diameter, and so you take the little compule tip off, the little cover off of your compule, and sometimes it's too big and it will fit loosely on the screw. But what you're going to do is you're going to take the tip off your composite, and every time you use a composite compule, not every time, but 1 out of every 10, have one of your assistants set aside that tip in a little box, get it sterilized. And when you're taking your implant impression, take that compule tip before after you make the hole in your impression tray for your open tray. You're going to slide that compule tip over the screw. Basically, you tighten the screw down, and you're basically covering the screw with the composite compule tip. So what this does, a couple of things. Number one,
if you're watching this in the video, you're seeing, an application. You're seeing actually an example of this right now.
We'll show. Yeah, you'll see the example of what this looks like visually. But what you're doing is, number one, you're protecting your screw so that you don't get impression material down into the hex, which is a real hassle to try to get out with an Explorer.
That's a bad day, man.
Yeah, it's a bad news. And then you can let the impression material set around this little cap. Don't have to be scared about it doing that, because you can reach in there with a cotton plier or a hemostat, and you can just grab a hold of this little compule tip after it's set and pop it out, and it will leave a perfect little recess around the screw, and you can just reach right in there with your driver. So you still have to clean the stuff off, but it makes it much easier, and because it makes it taller, the problem sometimes with open trays, if you have a weird occlusal plane, is that sometimes your screw is way down in there, especially on an edentulous case or something where you might not have a custom tray, you're working with a stock tray, and your screw is far down underneath there. So now you can raise up essentially where the first place that you see your screw come through, so you don't have to fight to seat your impression tray down lower because you can already see the screw by when you see that compule tip. Plus, those compule tips tend to be bright colors, and so it's a little easier to see. Get one that contrasts, if you can, with your impression material color that you're using, so that if you start having to dig in there, you're going to find it really, really easily. And so as you're seating your impression, just seat it over the compule tip, find that. As soon as you find that, you're good to go. Let it set, and then you can easily retrieve that and get back to the screw. So that's been helpful for me. You can't use it on every case. Sometimes, it's actually too tall if it's in the posterior and you don't have enough occlusal clearance. Sometimes you need to keep it low just with the screw. But in the anterior, where I do almost all open tray impressions in my anterior implant cases pretty much every time, because I do a lot of custom impression copings, that is where it's really useful because it just buys you a little bit more visibility.
So basically, this compule tip is the little, like if you're using Filtech Supreme hybrid or something like that, it's the little blue cap that's over top the end of the black compule.
Right, the thing that you take off before you apply the composite, that little cover.
Right. So that little cover, we always try to recap those things, and then when you're done with it, I mean, like, you're going to have a ton of these laying around. So this essentially is a free thing that you're just normally would throw away. So put these in a little box is what you're saying, and just ready just to throw them on there.
Yeah.
One thing I like about what you're saying here is, like, today even, and to be honest with you, you're the first person I've ever heard talk about this. I've never heard this in any lecture. I think I told you this in the production notes, and when we were talking about these things, this is a great tip. And even today, I totally forgot about this thing. And so here I am, because of a specific type of impression that I was doing for a hybrid in a edentulous case, where your tray doesn't quite get down there far enough, and now you're digging,
Stressful.
And it's kind of stressful because, this 81-year-old guy is now having an impression in his mouth a little longer than maybe he should because, well, really, and this little tip right here could really save your rear end. 30 seconds, and, throw these on there, have your assistant throw them on there, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah, hopefully that'll help.
Sounds pretty cool. What color are yours?
The ones I use are a yellow, and we've got a couple different composites that we use, and so depending on the brand, we've got either yellow or pink, and the impression material that I use is a purple, so either of them will contrast pretty well with the wash material that I use. You don't have to have one that's a contrasting color, but if you can find one, if you happen to have one, then that's just a bonus. We like bonus. Right. So bonus.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
We're going to move on to hopefully that tip of the week helps you. Let me know if you have any feedback on that.